In this country, we've never had a Checker, a Gestapo, or a Stasi. We've never lived in an Orwellian society. That was Mr. Justice Knowles on the landmark Miller versus College of Policing case. In brief, you were visited, Harry, weren't you, at work by the police to check your thinking, essentially, when you tweeted about the government consultation on the Gender Recognition Act. But many people have argued against this particular act, and after that case, the advice basically to chief constables was to uphold the law. If you have to choose between guidance and the law, for the sake of liberty, this was Justice Knowles, wasn't it, Harry? He said, choose law. And now you've got this ruling today. Well, actually, I'll let you, Harry, tell us what this ruling today means, or what you think it should mean, actually, because what if the court actually turned around and said, you had this ruling back in February, wasn't it?
It was February 2020
February 2020.
when I spanked the chief constable of Humberside's ass at
Which
the
I
High Court.
imagine was thoroughly delightful and, made you warm with joy, Harry. I've no doubt whatsoever.
Warm with joy, Darren. Absolutely. Yes. So there was a fundamental contradiction, as far as we could see, in the ruling at the High Court, because what happened was Mr. Justin Julian Knowles said that in recording me for a non-crime crime, that was part of it, and then going to my place of work, and then warning me about making further comments and talking about escalating from non-crime crime to crime, that they'd breached my Article 10 rights, and that's when Mr. Justice Knowles, in his summary, compared Humberside to the Stasi, the Checker, and the Gestapo, which is quite interesting. But what was curious was that right the way through, Humberside Police said they based all of their actions on the guidance issued by the College of Policing. And interestingly, the College of Policing agreed 100% that the actions of Humberside Police were entirely in accordance with their guidance. So we were very surprised when Mr. Justice Julian Knowles ruled that the guidance was lawful, but following the guidance was unlawful. We just thought that was illogical and bizarre and dangerous, because it left the police, all police forces, in a position where, on the basis of any complainant at all, irrespective of rationality, irrespective of evidence, irrespective of political motivation or mischief making or anything, the police could not filter out any complaint whatsoever. They were all treated all equally. And the police had to record a complaint with the complainant being referred to as the victim and the complained about being referred to as the suspect. And even worse than that, these non-crime hate incidents would be kept on a police file for up to 6 years and would be disclosable under an enhanced DBS check. So the College of Policing actually argued in court that should I apply for a job, say, at a charity, the chief constable should disclose my hate to the charity in order to give them the full information about my character, in order that they could factor that in when choosing or not choosing to give me the job. Well, of course, this is just completely and utterly unreasonable. This is what happened with Professor Kathleen Stock. She's a gender critical woman, a very nice woman. She's far more left wing than I could ever be. She's entirely reasonable, and yet because she does not hold to the view that human beings can change sex, she was hounded out of our job. And the sad fact is, universities and other HR departments have been emboldened to behave in this draconian way because they have been legitimately they can claim to have been following the example of the police.
Yes.
Well, our ruling today says no more. That's the recording of non-crime hate incidents based on no evidence, based simply on perception, is unlawful. In fact, the College of Policing, the judges, the panel of three judges, said this is not just about non-crime hate incidents that don't have crime or don't have evidence. These non-crime, non-hate incidents. Like, just get your head around that,
I
Darren.
know
How
it's
can you have
hard.
a non-hate incident? It makes no sense. This is how many fingers am I
Yeah,
holding up, Winston? We're
exactly.
absolutely in that territory, and
We
so it's
are.
been struck down. Yeah,
I mean, the Free Speech Union, which I'm sure you love as much as I do, by the way, but they're saying this is a landmark judgment, right? Because they're saying this is the Court of Appeal actually finding that the recording of non-crime hate incidents, which, by the way, I'm honoured with one myself, actually, Harry, is an
well done.
unlawful.
We're a growing club, or we
Yeah,
were
we
until
are.
today.
There's thousands of us. I mean, an
Yeah.
unlawful interference is how he describes it with freedom of expression. Now, the court actually say that the knowledge of such matters being recorded and stored in a police database, I'd love to know how vast this thing is likely to have had a chilling effect on public discourse. Now, you mentioned there Professor Kathleen Stock, who, of course, has been very brave in putting her head above the parapet. But that's not far from the truth, is it? That it really, really could have a severe chilling effect on speech and
Not
debate.
good.
Because
It does
would,
have a chilling
yeah,
effect. Absolutely.
because all it
I mean,
takes is for your political opponents to say, right, I'm going to report you to the police, and the police have to report these things, have to report you as being guilty of posting hate.
yes, that's exactly it. So the vast majority of sane individuals who have a healthy respect for the police, when the police say, "Well, we're not saying you can't do that, but really you shouldn't do that because you never know, a future employer could find out about that, or what have you." It has, of course, it has a chilling effect, and it causes people to just to think twice before they say something which otherwise they would have said. That is the very definition of a chilling effect. And it's not healthy, Darren. In a democratic free society, we have to be free to say things which are offensive, unpalatable, a bit nasty. What we can't do is target individuals. And I'm entirely against targeting individuals. And I think that malicious communications, I think it's right that that's criminalised. I think the laws around harassment are in fact correct. The problem that we have is that the Equality Act was designed to protect individuals, but there's been a sort of anthropomorphism where not only are the individuals with a protected characteristic protected, but it's moved on to protect it to the ideology of that person as well. So I don't have a problem with someone holding a GRC being protected.
Yeah,
That's
that's a gender
absolutely,
recognition certificate.
yeah. But the notion that means that you cannot question the notion of self identity and transgenderism. That's what I would call the unlawful anthropomorphism from protecting the person to protecting an idea. And you cannot protect ideas. You cannot and must not and should not ever protect an idea. And if somebody has taken offence on the basis of, well, you've criticised their idea and they are so wedded to their idea that they take it personally, well, so what? I just could not care less. I could not care less. I'm a Christian. If you want to tease me about being a Christian, or hang a picture of Jesus upside down on a cross, blowing sort of fairy bubbles out of his arse, I don't care. I don't care. I just don't care. And
Yeah.
we have to be in a position where we do not protect ideologies, however precious they are to us, from criticism. You simply can't do it.
And I mean, when you think about the police's priorities, right, given that in that same Free Speech Union press release, they actually make the point, and perhaps actually this point has come from you, between 2015 and 2021, you've got 964,000 domestic burglary investigations, ending without a suspect being identified. But then they can find the time, the energy, the resource to actually spend taxpayer cash on recording people as being guilty of non-crime hate incidents. I mean, I really am proud of actually to be a member of the Free Speech Union today, because I do think this is massive, mate. And if I was there with you right now, I'd buy you a pint.
I
But
love it.
I think actually I think the courage that you've shown and actually putting your head above the parapet, and there've been others with you. There's barrister Sarah Phillimore, isn't there, as well? Who was she complaining in the same? I've got that right, haven't I? She was.
No. She wasn't a complaint in the same
Ah,
thing. She was going to. If I'd not won today, we would have launched
I
an action on her
see.
behalf based on Article 8 of the
Right.
European of the ECHR. But that's no longer going to be necessary. But none of us do this in isolation.
Mm.
You start off on your own. You do. You just have a sense of what's right and what's wrong. But very quickly, courage is drawn to courage, and people who've been cancelled end up inevitably getting together. So I met the likes of Toby, you, Maya Forstatter, Kathleen Stock,
Hmm.
other very very courageous people, and you think, you know what? I'm kind of on my own, but also I'm kind of in this pretty cool gang of people who've. I don't know. I often say that I'm missing the fear gene. I think I am. I mean, I've got a lot of other genes which are sort of slightly bonkers. I'm not unemotional, but I don't suffer fear. I just
Mm.
don't suffer. Particularly when I know I'm in the right,
And
and
when
I
you've got a
just want
deep
to laugh
sense
at
of injustice, which of course this
Just
is.
an absolute deep sense of injustice. Like I said, well, how am I supposed to object to the changes to the Gender Recognition Act if, in doing so, I'm instantly saddled with a police record? How can that be right in a democratic society? How can that be right?
And
Well,
I've
it
got
can't.
that.
It can't be
Of
right.
course, it can't. It cannot be right. But the Phillimore case, Sarah Phillimore, barrister Sarah Phillimore, she put in what her case was all about. She put in a subject access request, didn't she, to find out what her local police station had recorded under her name, and she'd actually found that described her as being a barrister who's posting hate. And I want to repeat that: a barrister posting hate. There can be no more damning a thing to have on your file, right? What a horrible thing that is to read about yourself. It's a pretty bloody bold claim, Harry. But what exactly was it that she was meant to have posted that would constitute hate?
I think she'd said something
Wasn't it
ridiculous
about a
like
Protestant cat or something like that? Like a
she'd said my cat's a Methodist.
Methodist, that was it,
Yeah, my
yes.
cat's a Methodist. And then somebody said, "Oh, cats go around peeing on people's gardens." Are you saying that? Are you saying
I'm
that
laughing,
Methodists
but it's not funny,
go
actually.
around
It's
peeing on
not
people's gardens?
funny. Yeah.
Hater. That's it. Because there's no rationality. In fact, it's worse than that. There's no opportunity for rationality because the College of Policing guidance says that any questioning of the person who says there is an offence
Mm.
amounts to secondary victimisation. So merely saying, "Are you sure?" They go, "Now you're victimising me," by asking the question and testing it and holding it up to a standard of rationality. That in itself constitutes hate in
Hmm.
this completely nuts world
Totally.
invented by the College of Policing. So
Hmm.
that's where we were as of yesterday, Darren. But it's not a brave new world we're in today. It's a better world we're in today. It's a
Well, can
safer
I
world.
just say though, on that point, you've done the hard graft, right? You've got to where we need to be. You've got a court ruling here from one of the highest courts in the land saying, actually, hang on a minute, this isn't on. What the hell are the Conservative Party doing about it?
Well, they've subbed it out to me, haven't they? We all know that Priti Patel was against this all along. In fact, we don't have to guess that. She said back, I think it was in April or May time, she demanded that the College of Policing give up their non-crime hate incidents. Well, that was just after I'd been to court. So what in fact she'd done was subcontract out the work of government to a private individual, me. And that itself is cowardly and it's unfair. Now I understand that it places her, ordering the College of Policing what to do does place her in a slightly difficult position because we have this thing called the separation of powers. But when the College of Policing go ahead and do something so egregiously stupid as
Mm.
that, then I don't think anybody would have criticised Priti Patel for wading in and saying, "Now, hold on a minute, just hold on a minute. This is crazy. I'm not supposed to get involved in policing, but this isn't policing. This is lunacy." But of course, she didn't do that. She left it to me to do. And I noticed in the Spectator this evening, it's saying that Priti Patel is likely to be raising a glass to me because I've got her out of an awkward situation where I did the hard graft for her, and she's able to sit down now and reap the rewards.
Because, I mean, you find yourself in this extraordinary position, don't you? And correct us if you think I'm wrong, but you find yourself in this extraordinary position where actually all that needs to happen for you to be silenced, or your political opponents to want to silence you, and actually make the allegation, and then the police actually reverse the burden of proof. That's what I took it as being, because it's still recorded against your name, no matter if you're guilty, you're not guilty. I mean, in my case, the police were embarrassed.
Concepts of guilt and of innocence don't apply anymore. They simply
No,
don't apply because there is no standard of guilt. There is no burden of
burden of
guilt.
proof.
There
Yeah,
is no
yeah.
possibility for innocence because it's all perception based. And you were about to talk about your own situation there, Darren, before.
Yeah.
I interrupted you.
No, no. I mean, I was just going to say that in my case, that the police looked into it, and then some overly officious officer who was talking about the political moment being Black Lives Matter and stuff like that, and getting actually quite political in what he was saying. And the people like the Home Secretary, said, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Free speech has got to come before anything else. It wasn't me that said the comments that were originally reported, but the police still saw fit to raise an investigation. And after it was shut down, after the police were put back in the box, even then, I've still got this non-crime hate incident recorded against my name. So, Harry, what do people like me, and there are thousands of us, as you well know, what do we actually do now? How do we get these things taken off our DBS check so it can't be found if you do that deep DBS check on someone's name?
Okay, so what I think will happen is that the College of Policing will write to the chief constables immediately and tell them that the practice of NCHI collecting is illegal. Now, I think the sensible chief constables will then go to their files of NCHIs, build a bonfire, and set them all on fire along with the old guidance. That's what should happen. But of course, there are going to be certain zealot chief constables who go, well, technically, it doesn't say that we have to get rid of the ones we've already got, does it? And may choose to keep them. So what I would suggest you do is find that out. Right, you know that you had one. Write to your chief constable and say, in light of Miller versus the College of Policing, what have you done with it?
Mm-hmm.
And then you let me know. Unless they say we've burnt it and destroyed it, you're free, Darren. You get hold of me, and you and I together go in and we create another little shitstorm.
Because that's what people are going to have to do, isn't it? Subject access requests to find out if the police hold this information on them, because you just don't know. And that's the really creepy thing about it, isn't it? It's sort of creeping authoritarianism.
It's one of the creepy things about it. The other creepy thing about it was that in my case, the person who was designated the victim and was given anonymity is a well-known activist who's been doing this for years and years and years. Now, we didn't know this when we went to the High Court. We had no idea who this person was. The Chief Constable of Humberside said they were a vulnerable trans woman. Well, we didn't believe that for 1 second, but we had no proof otherwise. But since I found out precisely who it is, and they've got a long history of threatening people, of claiming to be part of an organised crime gang, of saying that they are part of a Hells Angels group, who say that they have contacts with police forces all over the country and regularly dob people in it. And get this, who in 2014 wrote to Julie Burchill, a Jewish writer, and said Hitler had the right idea. You should go to a gas chamber. Now, these are the antecedents of this perfect victim, that the College of Policing and the Chief Constable of Homicide colluded between them to withhold the past history of this person to the High Court and the Court of Appeal in order to present the model of a perfect victim. And that's just absolutely sick and wrong. And if I reveal who this person is, guess what? I break a court order and I'm the one that goes to jail.
Well, I mean, there we are. There we are. But I mean, it gets to a point, doesn't it, where this obsession with victim, this obsession with identity, these are the key themes of what we've just been discussing over the last, 20 minutes. These are the key themes that I think are symptomatic of the problem, actually, that we face at the moment. We're focusing on these two things and focusing on wackery and wokery within HR departments. That's what's driving us to make
Well,
absolutely mental things like this.
that is the real worry, Darren. I remember sitting in a restaurant with Posey Parker and my solicitor about 2 years ago, and so it was an absolutely packed out restaurant. And I said,
Remember them?
Yeah, I do remember it vaguely. When you look around, how many people in here do you reckon have been approached by the police because they've said the wrong thing? And we looked around, we said, well, there's me and there's you, Posey, but that's probably it. And then I said, how many people in here do you think are scared of saying the wrong thing because of their HR departments? And we said,
Yeah.
probably 70, 80%. I said, that's absolutely right. So what we're hoping that the knock-on effect of this ruling is, we're hoping that there will be a chilling effect on the police, and that we'll put them back in their box, and that we hope then that the chilling effect on free speech will go out into HR departments as well, because HR departments have no more right to chill somebody for their free speech than the police have. The court is very, very clear about that. You cannot limit a person's free speech except in very exceptional circumstances, and you've got to justify why you are limiting that free speech. So I understand, if you work for McDonald's and you go on every night saying how wonderful Burger King is, and
Yeah,
the scrap, then fair enough. That's a contractual issue. We
absolutely.
understand that, but the idea that you can be cancelled or sacked or depromoted or have your career limited in any way because you hold the wrong set of views, that's just absolutely wrong. We don't want to go down the route of J.K. Rowling. We don't want to go down the route of Maya Forstatter and you and me, all of whom have been, one way or another, sort of done over by employers, HR departments, or the police because of what we've said. Perfectly legal. None of us have come even close to. We've not even been in the foothills of criminality. That's what the High Court judge said about me. That Harry Miller was not even in the foothills. There was not a possibility that what he'd said, it would likely escalate into a crime. The non-crime hate incident became an end in itself in order to chill free speech, in order to narrow the Overton window, in order to protect certain ideologies and punish others. That's what it was all about.
Well, absolutely. But you've shown them, eh?
I've shown them, mate. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a Sheffield bloke. I mean, one of the things that I got into bother for, they said was hate. Was I said I tweeted, Sheffield women know the difference between lads and lasses, and this was classed as hate speech. And I'm like, how is it? How is that hate speech? Well, I'm a Sheffield lad, and we're just like straight talking here. We don't take this kind of nonsense.
No, I know.
We're just not good. It's like, you what? Are you having a laugh, mate?
I know. Well, yeah, God. I mean, you'd like to think they were, but they weren't. They were being deadly serious, and that's the worrying thing. But honestly, I think I'm going to let you enjoy your night now because I'm conscious of the time. But I honestly think what you have done is really, really bloody important, actually, and you should be damn well proud of yourself. So I hope you're going off here to have a drink now.
Well, you know what? I'm doing this really weird thing. I'm having sort of
A break, an interlude.
It's sort of weird tea. I'm normally like a Yorkshire tea man, but this is like mint. This is
mint tea. Get away.
Yeah, I'm having a mint tea and a little piece of Stollen. And that's
there we are. There we are. What more can a man want?
Exactly.
Right. Cheers, mate.
Always a pleasure, Darren. Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Reasoned is a grassroots organisation that's entirely funded by